Hi guys, hope you're well. Unfortunately, this isn't the video that I wanted to make, that I intended to make. Unfortunately, I did DNF at Ironman 70.3 Marbella, which is incredibly frustrating. And yeah, I'm just going to go into the reasons why that happened and sort of talk about how the race panned out and the decision that I made, obviously, to not finish the race. It's obviously frustrating because I was feeling really good in training. The numbers were there, the numbers were really good, and it was really kind of like inspiring to see those numbers and to think that I actually could be, really competitive in this field. And I thought this could be, one of those races that's a bit more of like a bit of a breakthrough race for me. I knew the course essentially wouldn't suit me 100% down to the ground because there's a lot of climbing on the bike, and for me being, I know I've mentioned it before, like a slightly heavier guy. I'm obviously not massively heavy compared to a lot of people out there, but in the pro field, being sort of 76, 77 kilos, it may not sound like a lot, but there are a lot of guys that are a lot lighter than me, and so the power to weight definitely makes a big difference in those hillier courses, which is what this was. But my climbing legs were showing up, and I thought I'd still give it a crack and get another race under my belt, and I was really confident that this would be a good result. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case. So essentially started the swim, and it was a beach start, which really suits me. I always prefer a beach start if I can. And got into a good pack, got into the main front pack. There was Josh Lewis was off the front. I think he got out of the swim 50 seconds, 60 seconds ahead of our group, and I came out of the swim with Chris Minton, George Goodwin and Will Crudgington, along with a few others that were in our group. So I had some good people around me. We ended up then riding kind of semi-hard towards the bottom of the climb, so it's about 5k flat, and then you take the 10k main climb up into the mountains. And as soon as we started climbing, I knew people were going to go punchy anyway, but I kind of thought that I'd be able to sit in with, for the most part, and then sort of protect my legs for later on in the race. And I knew that I definitely didn't want to do what I did in Lanza, which was go incredibly hard early on and then completely blow up. But I did still want to stay in the race. So it's a difficult decision to make, but I essentially decided to go with the race to a degree. But I did get maybe 3/4 of the way up the climb, and numbers were sort of around 370 watts, and guys were just riding away from me. Like, it was actually mental. Like Andy Dreitz, I was riding at 370 watts, and he just comes past me like I'm stood still. It's mental. I don't know what kind of power these guys are doing, but even some of the surges, I was riding like 400, 450 watts, and guys were riding away from me. It's actually insane. So towards the top of that climb, I thought, actually, you know what, I'm going to back off. I'm being stupid here. My normalized power at that point, maybe like 45 minutes into the ride, was 355. So I thought, you know what, if I back off now, if I race my own race, I know I can save myself for later on in the race, and it'll just be way better rather than completely burying myself. So that's what I did. However, it then went downhill, and I managed to catch up that group again on the downhill section and into the next hill. And so I kept essentially yo-yoing off the back. There was maybe 8 people, 10 people in that group. And it had people like, Chris Minton, Luke Pollard, Will Crudge, a few other guys in there. And essentially that was the remainder of the race, is me yo-yoing off the back. It was really frustrating because there were huge surges going up the climb at like 400 plus watts, which is ridiculous. And then on the descents, I was having to be on the brakes because I was catching them up. And then you're essentially being at the back of that group is the worst place to be, because that sort of yo-yo effect is so much larger. So essentially the surges were just absolutely killing me off. And a couple of times I did try and actively, back off, break myself away from the group and ride my own race. But every time I did that, I caught up with them anyway. So it was, incredibly frustrating place to be. And towards the back end, maybe it's 60k, I had to let them go. Like, I just got absolutely spat. It wasn't even a decision that I made. It just absolutely ripped my legs off. I was riding 420 watts. I remember the exact moment I got dropped. I was riding 420 watts, and they just rode away from me. So it was really frustrating, and I burnt too many matches doing that. I then just kind of mentally wasn't in a great place. and my back essentially from the surging and from like the main first climb was really tight. I've been actually fine with my back in training and other races, but yeah, for this race, unfortunately, it wasn't the case. My lower left back was just absolutely screaming at me, and I know exactly why it is. It's when I'm trying to cover moves and I'm tensing up too much, and just using, activating the wrong muscles, and it's just, wasn't good. So then had low power going into the back end of the ride, and mentally was just not in, like I said, not in a great space. So I just spun it into transition. I was fully committed to dropping out in T2. But I had a little pep talk from Ryan, and he basically said, just go out on the run and see what happens. And I'm glad I did, because if my run legs came good, I still could have had a good finish and had a good race. So I decided to go out on the run, and immediately, within 2K, I knew that, my stomach started hurting, and I know exactly why that is. It's almost towards the back end of the ride. I kind of checked out of the race anyway, so I stopped taking on race nutrition and fueling, which is stupid, but I kind of already checked out. And then so I know that I was under fueled going into the run, and just, had bad stomach pain. I did a token 1 lap. It was a 3-lap race, a 3-lap run. I did a token 1 lap, supported some other people out there, and called it a day, because essentially I wasn't going to finish in a good place. My back and my stomach were really hurting, so I was just going to do more damage. And I've got the Challenge Championships in 2 weeks' time, so if I didn't have another race, maybe I would have gritted my teeth a little bit more and got through it. But actually, considering the circumstances, it just made sense to drop out, save the legs. I can then have a rest day today, tomorrow get back to training, and have a 2-week kind of really positive lead into the Challenge Champs. So those are my reasons for it. I'm sure a lot of people will comment and say stuff like, oh, you should just grit your teeth and get through it. But when you're racing in the pro field and you've got a lot of other races going on, and you're not gonna get good points, you're not gonna get good prize money, like sometimes it is the sensible decision. As much as it makes you sound like a pussy, it's the sensible decision to pull out of the race. So that's why I made that decision. So obviously not the start of the triathlon season that I wanted. Didn't have an amazing race in Lanza, DNF'd in 70.3 Marbella. So it's kind of frustrating. I've got a lot of emotions. I was quite emotional yesterday. I've definitely sort of approaching it a little bit more rationally today, but I still need to digest what's happened and think about how I can overcome this and be better for next time. But it's just really frustrating when the numbers are really good in training. You should be able to be competitive with some of the best people out there. I still think I can be competitive with some of the best people out there, but you have, the start of the season that I've had, and it just makes you question everything you do. And it makes you, like yesterday I was thinking, am I even good? Am I even, should I even be doing the sport? I know that sounds ridiculous, but those sort of thoughts were going through my head last night when I was, after having a few beers. I kind of thought, should I just quit and get a regular job? I love doing this, but it's when it doesn't go your way, it is frustrating. But we'll figure it out. It's still early days in the season, so I still think there's a lot of potential here, and I just want to capitalise on all the effort that I've actually put in, and I just don't feel like the results show where I'm at right now, and I just need it to happen on race day. And I think that's the biggest thing I need to work on. Is the numbers are good, but I'm not very perhaps I'm just not very race savvy. I knew this race wouldn't necessarily suit me, like I said, with the climbing, but I need to get better at that race savviness and that race sort of craft, and you can only get better at that from racing. So it does mean you are going to have to race more often, have some crap races, but learn from those mistakes. And I think this race, I've been mentioning to the other guys that we're with, we all agreed that in the pro field it's so different. Like if we all did that as a time trial effort, as like an age grouper, when you go out and you're not affected by groups or anything, we probably would have raced far quicker than if we were like we were yesterday in the pro field, because the pro field, it's like you're not just doing a time trial effort, you're racing with those other guys there, you're having to cover moves, and it's just like, it was absolutely exhausting yesterday. It was just absolutely killer, and that's not the style of riding that I'm good at. I'd much prefer to sit at 330 watts for 2 hours than ride at 420 watts and then 420 watts zero for 2 hours. That was just absolutely insane. It's something I need to get better at. So anyway, that's a little bit of a debrief for you guys. Thanks so much to everyone out here who was supporting in person. Thanks so much to everyone on social media who's been supporting. I apologise for not providing a good result for you. It made me feel a bit embarrassed and a bit, like I said, a bit all over the place with emotions at the minute. There's also some stuff, I don't want to use it as an excuse. There's some stuff going on in the background as well, personally, which has maybe affected me mentally a bit more than I thought it would have done. But I don't want to talk about that because I don't want to use that as an excuse. So yeah, there's stuff going on, and it wasn't a good race, unfortunately. But shit happens at the end of the day. We just need to get on and move on to the next one. Take the positives from this, take the negatives from it, and just approach the next one with a good mentality, which is the goal. There's lots of exciting things coming up though, lots of developments that I'm going to be making to not only stuff like bike position, different bits of equipment that I'm using, so lots of stuff that I'm going to be looking at and documenting on the channel, which I'm really, really looking forward to. So thanks again so much for the support you guys give me. I really do appreciate it, and I promise at some point, fingers crossed this season, I may actually get a good result. Who knows? I bloody need one because it's starting to annoy me now. But no, we'll get there. There's always hiccups along the way. But yeah, like I said, thanks so much, guys. Really, really appreciate it. I'm now gonna hop on the super yacht back home, and I'll see you in the next video.